I want to hear about what you're doing and how you help men right now, and how this has turned from, a task to a testimony to now a mission.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's so it is rebuilt recovery. You say reboot recovery a lot, and I'm not here to
Oh, I'm
correct you,
sorry. My
but
my bad.
no, and you're right. It's 100% not a isolated incident. It's not actually even a minority problem. If you look at the statistics, it is a majority of the men are struggling with this. I know we're speaking to a Christian audience here. Pure statistics here, not my numbers that I'm pulling out of nowhere. Look at Barta Research 2019. 70% of Christian men that attend church regularly admit to having a problem with this. 57% of pastors admit to having a problem with it. 64% of youth pastors admit to having a problem with it. And only 7% of churches have a program or solution that is helping men out of it. So I see it as probably one of the biggest problems facing men, facing Christian men, facing marriages, and really the entire world. So the next few months, man, was life changing, right? Like I said, I didn't know what it was going to lead me to, but I knew something was going to come out of this that was going to be bigger and beyond anything that I'd ever done in my life. And it didn't just go, I quit porn, I launched a company, now I help men. Like there was a journey and process that led me through that. But I think one of the biggest things that helped me was not feeling shame. I think the conversation with Zach really opened up my eyes to like, okay, there are other men out there, and there are open men that are open to having this conversation. The support that I heard from you after that first conversation showed me like, okay, like I can count on these men that have been there for me. Like they're not going to judge me through this. So I took the next couple of weeks and months to really share it with everybody. I don't know why I felt this way, but I felt like everybody needs to know. Like I almost looked forward to this conversation because like every time I opened up, for one, like I would learn more about myself. Like I was kind of putting myself through like self-therapy moments, but it also, every conversation made things feel lighter and lighter and lighter and lighter. You talked about in Orlando, like how I even looked lighter. Every time I opened up with somebody, it's like the guilt and shame just got lighter and lighter and lighter. So much to the point where it's like flying around the world, like looking for people to have this conversation with, literally like setting up Zoom calls. Like, dude, I got to tell you something. And they're like, okay. And then I get on there and they're like, I had a porn addiction for like 20 years. And I'm like, whoa, I didn't think, but it was so amazing because every guy that I shared it with, like, I'm not bragging about my friends, or I'm not bragging about the networking relationships that I have, but I'm connected with some high level men, like guys that are building massive companies, guys that are having massive impact in the world, guys that are doctors, CEOs, lawyers, like you name it, like these guys are my friends. So when I opened up to them, they're like, yeah, me too. And it was like, okay, I'm actually not a bad person. I made some bad choices, but I'm not a bad person. I think that's the differentiating point between shame and guilt. Shame says you're a bad person. Guilt is you did something bad. So I was removing myself out of the shame, but it was only done through openly discussing what I was going through and having other men say, you know what, this is okay. And as I'm doing this, like my friends now, once again, yourself, Dr. Ron, Mike, they're like, Frank, this is going to lead you to something way bigger. Like you guys kept reinforcing how powerful this story was, how powerful this testimony is. I don't think I ever felt that. I felt like I was just another guy. Like, once again, I try not to put too much weight on the things that I do anymore. I've struggled with that a lot, like too much pride, too much ego. So for me, I just felt like I was doing what I was supposed to be doing. But hearing the feedback, like from everybody, like, Frank, this is powerful. Frank, you need to get this out there. Frank, this is going to lead you to something greater. I said, okay, maybe there is an opportunity for me to share this. So obviously we're here on a podcast. Like this is something I've always loved. I've always loved being a listener and consumer of podcasts. They changed my life back in 2015. And I've always wanted to start one. Literally from 2017 to 2019, I probably had 50 different ideas drawn out on a whiteboard, but never anything that was like, okay, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, pull the trigger, until I had this story. And it was like, okay, if me, once again, I'm nobody here, but I did have a background in high performance. I have built my body and other people's body. I have had some success in the corporate arena. I have had some success in entrepreneurship. I've studied human performance, self-development, psychology, human nature, all these things that shape and make us who we are. But yet I'm still struggling with this thing. What about all the men that don't pursue the things that I'm pursuing? What about all the men that don't have my background? They're probably not even equipped to even understand what's going on in their world. Maybe there's something for me to just put this story out there. So this led me to launching my podcast, which is called The Super in Life. We've had you on, Josh, now 2 times, 2 amazing episodes. Maybe you can link those in the show notes somewhere. So and the podcast started with literally just a way that I wanted to put my story out into the world. Literally, the first episode is this story drawn out over about 90 minutes. And then the second episode is actually with Zach. But as I'm start putting these conversations out there, because the first 10, 15, 20 episodes were really focused on addiction recovery, not just porn addiction. We had some of those stories in there, but we had alcohol addiction. We had drug. We had heroin. We had Adam on, Adam Gunton, another mutual friend of ours. And by having these open, vulnerable conversations, the messages that I began to receive from men changed, because remember, I was building a fitness company. I had somewhat of a social presence already, but the message I was receiving from men changed from, Frank, thank you for your fitness. Thank you for helping me build bigger biceps. Thank you for helping me get abs, to, Frank, thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for your willingness to have these open conversations. And then the messages started to become, Frank, can you help me? And at first I was like, I don't think so. I mean, take what you're hearing in these podcasts and try to implement some of these things into your own life. And that was really the next 6 months of just putting the conversations out there openly, hoping that it's going to help inspire, motivate somebody to take action, make change in their life. Circling back to attending an event, though, with Vince once again in January of 2020, actually January 28th, or that weekend, you were back down. So you're another part of this story. And in that event, Vince taught like a marketing thing where you can kind of like launch a program, launch a coaching without having anything really set up or built. And I said, maybe there's something here for this. Because like I said, I've been getting a lot of messages of men asking me for help. So literally at the end of that event, I walked away the next Monday and I said, I think I'm going to try this. You know, I literally took like the little Twitter style post that probably everybody's seen on Instagram. And I said, I'm looking for 5 guys that are fed up and tired with their compulsive addiction with pornography. I'll personally coach you for the next 4 months to rebuild your body, rewire your brain, and reshape your heart. And that became the beginning now of what was or what has become Rebuilt Recovery.